Yo, what's going on, guys? Welcome into Vikings Now by Chat Sports. My name is Patrick Siepman on our weekly live show, breaking down the latest around your Minnesota Vikings. As we're going to be probably spending most of today's show talking about Colin Cowherd. I don't know if you guys saw, he suggested possibly the worst trade idea of all time. So that's going to be the first segment on today's show. But let's get the audience going. Let's build it up a little bit down in the chat. If you're a diehard Vikings fan, just give me a skull down below in the chat right now. We already got Time Man, the Buckeye, Bulls, and Nation, all the real ones down there. Levi, Harvey, Buxton. Harvey, shout out to you, man. Harvey, we actually just got the Kirk Cousins jersey heading your way. As in Purple Papa saying, all for our franchise QB. We need to get our guy. I'm with you. William Dunsmore in the chat saying Skull. Shout out to all the real ones tuning in today. We're going to be flying through today's live show at a little faster pace because I'm taking some PTO next week, so I'm not going to be in the office, but I want to have you guys kind of filled with videos throughout next week. So we got 5 videos we're going to be getting through on today's show. Super excited to break it down and everything. So that's what's coming up. But happy to be with you guys today. It's going to be a ton of fun. Shout out to everybody in the chat. And let's do this thing, man. Let's do this thing. But let's kick into this. Who will be QB1 for the Vikings next season? Predict it for me right now. If I had to put my money down, QB1 for the Vikings next season, I'm still probably going Kirk Cousins. If it's not Kirk, it's probably a rookie. I don't know what rookie I would probably put my money on right now, but probably going to go still Kirk Cousins. Caden's going Drake May. I wish, man. If we would somehow get Drake May, that'd be fantastic. Bulls Nation going J.J. McCarthy. I would love J.J. McCarthy. You go pull, 100 NFL fans. I guarantee you 99% of them will say J.J. is going to be a bust, which almost makes me want him more. I'm a big fan of J.J. McCarthy. I just feel like that would be like a draft pick. Nobody would like it, and then I would just I would love it.
See, you know you don't get a raise by saying you want J.J. McCarthy, right?
No, but also we may be able to get JJ on the show if the Vikings draft JJ McCarthy.
True.
Yeah. Hey, I will say this. If the Vikings do draft JJ McCarthy, keep your eyes out. We will try our best to get him on the show, which would be awesome. As Bulls Nation also saying, maybe Spencer Rattler. Hey, I was telling you guys about Spencer Rattler about 6 weeks ago, and after the Senior Bowl, and then also probably after his pro
Rattler
day.
can sling the rock, dude.
Dude,
He's an asshole, but he can
arm.
sling the rock.
Yeah, and plus also, the whole stuff about him being an asshole, it really only stemmed from his senior year of high school and his freshman year of college. His South Carolina teammates rave about him being a great leader, so, I think he's kind of worked past that, but yeah. But before we dive into more here, I do want to tell you guys about Prize Picks real quick. If you guys head to prizepicks.com/CONS, code CONS, we'll hook you guys up with a first deposit match up to $100. It's daily fantasy sports made easy. Just want to tell you guys quickly about Prize Picks, prizepicks.com/CONS, and use that code CLNS. They're sponsoring today's live show, as well as Game Time. If you guys download Game Time today and use that code VikingSChat, VIKINGSCHAT, you guys will get $20 off your first purchase. Shout out to Game Time. Shout out to Prize Picks for sponsoring today's show. Big shout out to them. Link in the comment section and description of today's show. But let's talk about it. Would you trade Justin Jefferson ever? Would you ever trade Justin Jefferson for whatever reason? Because our man Colin Cowherd, and I'll show you guys a trade here at our first segment. It was just an absolute joke. I'm excited to talk about it, so I can show you guys that trade. But would you trade Justin Jefferson? T for trade, P for pass. Let me know your thoughts down below. Is Roger Bong? What up, Roger? As Roger, is that the Addison jersey as your profile pick? I think that might be.
The only thing I'll say about a Justin Jefferson trade is you would get the King's ransom and then some.
I would hope so.
You would literally get everything you could ask for and then some.
See, Trix, that's a great point, because when we show you guys the Colin Cowherd trade idea, the thing is, he doesn't have the Vikings getting a ransom. He actually has the Vikings sending a ransom, including Jefferson. It was possibly one of the dumbest things that I've ever heard come out of Colin Cowherd's mouth, and I like Cowherd, man. I really do. He has some hot takes and everything, but this is up there as one of the worst ones. But shout out it is the Addison one. That's sweet, Raj. That's sweet. If you could get what Chiefs got for Hill coming in from Rocky, I think you would be able to get a little more than that. But Yeah. But hey, if you guys want to ask a question about Justin Jefferson, we'll have a mailbag coming up here probably about an hour or so. So hashtag Vikings or Super Chat. Get on the show. Already had some people get in there. But hashtag Vikings as Rod Jigga in the chat saying, hey, Seeps, what's up, man? Please do not trade away Jefferson. Plus, side note, keep Hunter if possible. Rob Jigga, you're inside my head right now. I totally agree with you, man. I totally agree for you. Only for 3 firsts, 2 seconds, and a player. Bulls Nation, yeah, I'm with you. But get those questions in there. Hashtag Vikings. Or if you guys want to super chat, support the show, you guys will skip the line. But hashtag Vikings from a man, Trace can pull it. Then also, just want to tell you guys about this real quick. No big deal if nobody can. We are starting a little off-season Hall of Fame board. So every $10 super chat that you send in, we'll sign your name on the board, and then it'll get you a raffle ticket, and then we'll raffle off the board at the end of this month. Just want to throw that out there. If you guys do want to support the show, keep the lights on here at Vikings Now. I would really appreciate it. Obviously, no worries either way, but that's kind of the deal of the day for you guys. $10 super chat, you'll get on the Hall of Fame board, and you'll get a raffle ticket. But we're going to hop into Justin Jefferson, or Colin Cowherd's Justin Jefferson trade idea right now. We got a wild trade idea to break down on today's edition of Vikings Now by Chat Sports, and it comes from the man from FS1, Colin Cowherd, as this was the trade idea he suggested on his podcast. He had the Patriots receiving the best wide receiver in the National Football League, the Vikings' 11th overall pick, the Vikings' first-round pick for next season. Oh, for what? The 3rd overall pick in the draft. I cannot believe this. When I originally saw that Cowherd dropped the Jefferson trade idea, I thought it would be Jefferson. That's it. And the Vikings would get the 3rd overall pick, another first-round pick, and even a little more. But this is the trade idea that Cowherd tossed out there. We'll break it down more or hear more in a little bit. But I just want to stop all the noise and show the best wide receiver, frankly, the best non-quarterback in football, our support and our love. Type his jersey number. Type those 18s down in the comment section. Show Justin Jefferson some love. I just can't believe Colin Cowherd threw that out there. So type those 18s down below in the comment section as let's break this down. So originally when I got this trade alert, I thought it was flipped. I thought somebody had it wrong where it was like, oh, when he dropped this out there that the Vikings would be receiving, a 2025 first and maybe a 2026 first. No, Cowherd obviously had this, and all I have to say to this is this has to be a joke from Cowherd. Like, I just can't find any reasoning why he would think that the Vikings would make that deal. One, because Jefferson, I think he is the best non-quarterback in the NFL, and plus, like, his little argument was that the Vikings would be able to go get their quarterback. They would be able to trade up into 3 and get their Jaden Daniels and get their guy. But the thing is, I'm not giving up Justin Jefferson, the 11th overall pick, and on top of that, next year's first, just to go get a guy like Jaden Daniels to move up 8 spots in the draft. Think about that. Cowherd says for the Vikings to move up 8 spots in the draft, they would need to give up the best non-quarterback in the NFL and a future first-round pick. It just makes no sense to me. I swear I thought Cowherd was joking when he dropped that because, look at this, man. Justin Jefferson, the highest yards per game out of receiver in NFL history at 106.4. He's been incredible. Like, especially maybe not this past year because obviously he dealt with injuries, but the year before that, when he had that catch in Buffalo and the Vikings won 13 games, winning 11 of those games by 1 score, he was the catalyst. He was the reason the Vikings were winning most of those games. It was not a good roster the Vikings had this season, but 18 put the team on his back countless times. That's why I just really don't understand this. Like, in terms of Justin Jefferson, like, I still feel like he is undervalued and almost underrated in a certain sense because I think people think of him, as a borderline top receiver in the league. You could make the argument for Tyreek Hill. Well, I think he's an all-time great. Like, I think he is a top 5 wide receiver talent of all time. Like, we're talking Calvin Johnson. We're talking Randy Moss. Like, he is that good, and you just don't trade all-time greats. Like, no matter what it is, you don't move off him. That's why I'm in the camp. Unless the Vikings, maybe it's the Chiefs, they say, hey, you know what? We'll give you 5 first-round picks for Jefferson. Then maybe I would consider it. But I'm not moving off the best non-quarterback in the NFL because I guarantee you the Vikings, if Vegas, put out like Vikings win total for next season, they said with Justin Jefferson it's 9.5. I bet you without him, I bet you he's worth 3 wins according to the bookmakers out west. So you just don't trade him. And also this point, the fan base will riot because not only is Justin Jefferson a great football player, he also is a great dude on and off the field. Like, what he's done in the city of Minneapolis and just the whole state of Minnesota has been fantastic. Like a role model for young athletes. I think kids also love Justin Jefferson because of the gritty. He's in a ton of commercials. Like, this fan base would be absolutely furious. So, listen, he has been a perfect draft pick. Like, he doesn't live into that wide receiver diva drama at all. He's a franchise player. I think in terms, I know this is kind of an NBA term, but I think Jefferson could be the best player on a championship team. Normally it's the quarterback, but I think 18 is that good where he really could be. But I'll toss it to you guys. Maybe you guys disagree with me. Maybe you guys, think, the Vikings could trade Justin Jefferson. I'll play some devil's advocate here in a little bit. But would you ever trade Jefferson? Give me a T for trade or a P for pass down in the comments section. Now, we'll say this. It is an interesting conversation. In terms of where the Vikings are right now, and I'll get to this here in a second, but, with where the division's kind of shaking up and just kind of the whole thing with, where the Vikings kind of stand right now, I think you could make an argument that it may be best for the future of the franchise, like way future, like the next 10, 15 years, to maybe move off him. We'll talk about that here more in a second, but I do want to give a huge shout out to today's sponsor, and that is Game Time. If you guys are trying to purchase a ticket to a concert, sporting event, whatever it may be, make sure you guys do download Game Time and use this code VikingsChat, VIKINGSCHAT. Use that promo code VikingsChat. You guys will get $20 off your first purchase. It's the best seats, lowest price guaranteed. And the thing I love the most about Game Time is prices drop as the events get closer. Game Time, another cool feature of the app is when you're checking out your ticket, you can literally move it around and see where your seats are. I absolutely love Game Time. I went to a Dallas Mavericks game the other day. It was awesome. So if you guys want to get hooked up today, Luke Bryan's coming to Minnesota or Minneapolis here shortly. So if you guys want to go see him or whoever it may be, use that code VikingsChat, VIKINGSCHAT for $20 off your first purchase. Get hooked up today. Link for that in the comment section and description of today's show. All right, let's talk about it. If you do trade Justin Jefferson, it has to be Hall. Like, that has to be number one here. If you even are considering the trade, you have to get multiple first-round picks, maybe a player, and then maybe also 2 seconds as well. You are not attaching picks and Justin Jefferson to trade up the number 3. We're done with the Cowherd trade idea. But now let's talk about why it would make sense. I'm going to play devil's advocate here. I do not want to trade Jefferson, but let's just say you're in that camp. Let's think about it from the other side. Let's see it from the other lens here on why it does make sense to trade Justin Jefferson. I think the number one argument you can make, you can't compete in the NFC North with him. If you're looking at the 3 teams of the division, Bears, they got 2 top 10 picks, a young and up-and-coming roster. The Packers had the youngest roster in the NFL last season and went to Dallas and won a playoff game, and Jordan Love looks like a franchise quarterback. Detroit Lions, they just had a 17-point lead in the NFC Championship game. They're going to be good for the next 5, 6, 7 years probably. Also retain Ben Johnson. The division's all the way on the way up, and the Vikings are kind of plateauing and maybe on the way down a little bit. So that would be the number one reason I can make for trading Jefferson. And it also ties in the number 2. You'd almost reset the timeline a little bit because I'm not saying the Vikings were going all in on winning this year, and, obviously the injuries were the biggest reason why the season didn't work out, especially the Kirk Cousins. But, you could reset this timeline. Like, you could say, you know what, this Kirk Cousins, Jefferson era, we're completely moving on, and we are getting younger, and we're going to get a ton of draft capital and completely, reset this timeline and reset this roster. So I can see it from that side too. And then also, you would have a more complete roster if you do trade him. I mean, there's no doubt about that. Like, when you would move off, a blue chip, all-time great type of player, the haul you would get would obviously allow you to fill out, certain holes in the roster. So I see it from that perspective as well. But again, you would need to get a haul. Number 4, and maybe this could have been, the number one reason to trade Jefferson, is you wouldn't have to pay him. There is no doubt in my mind he is getting more than $30 million per year. And I'll tell you what also, they better pay him before Jamar Chase gets paid because the Bengals will probably give him $30 million a year. And I'll tell you what, Jefferson, whatever Chase makes, he's going to want more than that, no doubt. He's going to be the highest paid non-quarterback in the league here shortly. So that would be a huge reason. Another one where it's like, hey, we took advantage of Jefferson's rookie contract. We traded him, got draft capital back, and we don't need to trade him. I see it from that perspective. Also this, what if he wants out? What if the Vikings don't bring back Kirk Cousins this year? And what if they draft a quarterback, J.J. McCarthy, at 11? And he is just an absolute bust, and he just does not work out whatsoever. What if he demands a trade? What if he wants out? And you could kind of, it's a whole Patriots thing where it's like you want to move off a player 1 year too early. Like maybe that argument you can make. But this is me playing devil's advocate right here on 5 reasons that you could maybe trade Justin Jefferson. I wouldn't do it at all, but this was kind of the other side of things that I did want to get to you guys. Let's kick it back to Colin Cowherd, the worst trade idea I've ever heard in my life. Would you even consider accepting it? Give me an A for accept or give me a D for a decline. I hate even asking you guys this, but I want to get you guys involved. Or if you guys just could type F Cowherd down below, I better not see one A for accept down in the comment section or else I'm really going to question you guys' football knowledge. But let me know down below. And as always, guys, make sure you guys are subscribed. Whether it's a wild Cowherd trade idea, or whatever it may be this offseason, we're going to have you guys covered with the best content here on Vikings Now. So hit that subscribe button, lock us in, and we'll see you guys next time. Skol Vikes. All right, Harvey Buxton getting involved here on our little raffle item. I don't have it with me, but when we do get it, I will sign both of you guys' names, and we'll show it off next week. So, Harvey, thank you so much for supporting the show as you did during the season as well. Shout out to you, man. Really, really do appreciate it. Then my man, Roger Bong. Roger Bong, bosses aren't listening right now. I wish that jersey was able to say Bong on the back instead of Addison. Shout out to that one website where we get our jerseys from that didn't allow it. But, Roger, I appreciate it. I really do appreciate it, man. You showed support all year. So thank you, Roger. Shout out to you, man. Shout out to you. But we are going to have a mailbag coming up. Hashtag Vikings or Super Chat to get those questions in there. As Dorian is saying, worst trade ever. Dorian, I'm with you. Yeah, that Cowherd trade idea was absolutely terrible. But, yeah, we have a board. I'll be able to sign your guys' name. $10 Super Chats gets us in there. But thank you guys so much for tuning in today. We're going to be diving into 10 blockbuster free agent targets for the Vikings. It's actually got some money to spend this year in free agency, shockingly enough. But I'll honestly have to, trade or cut some people if they want to, have a lot to spend. But Trace, if you're ready, let's just dive into it, man. Yo, what's going on, guys? Welcome in the Vikings Now by Chat Sports. My name is Patrick Siepman. Coming up on today's show, I got 10 blockbuster free agent targets for your Minnesota Vikings. Maybe this guy right here, Kwesi Adofo-Mensah, could get active this year in free agency. So I got 10 names to keep your eyes out for. But before we dive into that, I actually have some beef with you guys. I got a little bone to pick with the real ones here. I was running the analytics over the channel over the last 28 days, and 68.4% of you guys aren't subscribed here to the channel. Let's change that. It's a big-time offseason for your Vikings, so hit that subscribe button, lock us in. Only 31.6% of you guys are subscribed. Let's get that up to at least 32% off today's video. So lock us in, hit that sub button. Let's dive into my 10 free agent targets for the Vikings. Number 1, it is a long shot. It is a pipe dream, but it's the big fella from the Kansas City Chiefs, Chris Jones. And listen, I think this little Chiefs dynasty, I think people, chalk it up to, Mahomes and Andy Reid. It's all about them. I can make an argument on the other side of the football. Chris Jones and Spagnuolo are almost just as much, should be praised for this little Chiefs run here. I mean, they've been absolutely fantastic. And, Chris Jones' ability to get pressure from the interior is always something I've loved out of him. And, he's just been great. Obviously he is on his tail half of his career, and he should get paid by Kansas City. Let's just say they decide not to pay him. Vikings could finally get that big-time name in the middle of that defensive line, probably the first time since, obviously Linval Joseph. But that would be my number 1, free agent dream target would be Chris Jones. Number 2 for me is Josh Allen, the edge rusher from the Jacksonville Jaguars. Listen, this guy, he's just a baller, man. The fact that we got 2 really good Josh Allens in the National Football League is something. But, I mean, this dude was a monster last season. I mean, he put up 17.5 sacks. He's out of Kentucky. And, if the Vikings don't bring back Danielle Hunter, I think edge becomes the number one need on this entire roster. And a guy like Josh Allen, you would have to pay him. And if the Vikings were going to decide to pay Danielle Hunter or Josh Allen, I hope they would just go Danielle Hunter. But this is a name to keep your eyes on if the Vikings do not bring back Hunter in free agency. Number 3, Christian Wilkins, one of my favorite players, or non-Vikings in the NFL. If you guys have ever watched this guy, on the mic'd up moments for NFL, he is hilarious. He talks smack almost after every single play, and he's an absolute menace in the interior of that defensive line. Again, a lot of these free agent targets are going to be on the defensive side of the football, but I just think the Vikings, they just need to add a ton more talent to that side, and they need to get better in the trenches, and this guy would do that. I mean, he truly is a blue-chip player in the NFL. Again, you're going to have to pay him a little hefty token here, but I think it would be worth it. The ability to get pressure from the interior and also, just a menace in the run game. I think he would be worth every cent, and I think he would open up a ton for, our linebackers like Ivan Pace and Jordan Hicks to fill holes and up their game a little bit. But Christian Wilkins, number 2 DT in my opinion. Number 4, Jalen Johnson, cornerback from the Chicago Bears. Dude's an absolute dog. I don't expect the Bears to even think about losing him. They're gonna probably have to pay him again a good amount, but I just don't know. I just don't think the Bears are gonna let him go. But if the Vikings could somehow get Jalen Johnson, I mean, I really do think he's a top 5 cornerback in the league right now, and see him in purple and gold, and then seeing all the Bears fans, watch him, lock up DJ Moore would be a ton of fun for me. I don't think the Bears let him go, but he would be my number 1 corner that I would want the Vikings to get. But my number 2 corner that I want the Vikings to get, another Kansas City Chief, man, L'Jarius Sneed. I understand, Vikings fans, he was talking a ton when the Vikings took on the Chiefs this early on this season, but the dude's an absolute playmaker, and I do think he could be a true, cornerback 1 for whatever team, and that's what the Vikings need. You guys have heard me say this. I like Byron Murphy. He's a hell of a player, but I don't think he's a true cornerback 1. I think he is more of a cornerback 2, and I think it would be a great cornerback 2. Andrew Booth and Caleb Evans, they're looking more like bust, at this point in their career, so the Vikings definitely need more talent. I like Mekhi Blackman, more of a cornerback 3 or 2 in my opinion, and Najee Thompson's obviously, a special teamer. Whether it's free agency or the draft, Vikings are going to have to sign somebody or not sign somebody, bring in a cornerback, and L'Jarius Sneed would be a great option. But let me know. Name a player the Vikings should sign. I just gave you 5. We got 5 more here in a little bit. But name a player the Vikings should sign down below in the comment section. Get active and let me know your thoughts. Got another defensive tackle here, the big fella from the Baltimore Ravens. And in terms of, what we've been saying for the first couple of guys, in terms of getting pressure from the interior, there may not be a better guy than Justin Madubuike. I think that's pronounced. Yeah, Madubuike, whatever But he's a monster, man. Playing with Michael Pierce this year, next to him in Baltimore. He had a great season: 13 sacks, 12 TFLs, 2 forced fumbles, 56 tackles. He's a hell of a football player, and he's a guy that the Vikings should, definitely consider bringing in. But again, he's going to cost a lot. Vikings don't have that much cap space. They really kind of hindered themselves to be active this year in free agency. But, it's kind of like the Vikings are in the spot where it's like you either go all in on a guy like this or you just get a bunch of, smaller pieces to help you get better on the margins. They don't really have enough to do both. But this would be a hell of a pickup in my opinion. Another guy, if you do lose Danielle Hunter in free agency, Brian Burns, man. Brian Burns, I just, anytime I watch the Panthers play, this dude jumps off the screen to me. And anytime you have that ability on a bad football team to really, really stand out, this guy right here would be a great choice. Brian Burns, 6'5", 250, out of Florida State. Obviously, his production was not as high as it was in years past for the Panthers. But the Panthers, they've reportedly denied multiple first-round picks for the man. So, listen, I think Brian Burns would be a great pickup for the Vikes. But, again, you're going to have to pay him. And I don't know if the Vikings are willing to do that with, their limited cap situation. All right, I got 3 more names coming for you guys here in a second, but I do want to first tell you guys about Game Time, today's sponsor of today's edition of Vikings Now by Chat Sports. And if you guys use promo code VikingsChat, we'll hook you guys up with $20 off your first purchase. Make sure you guys get hooked up today. Link for that in the comment section and description of today's show. It's Game Time. Download the app. Get hooked up today. Anytime you guys are planning on going to a concert, sporting event, Timberwolves, Wild, whatever it may be, use Game Time. It's the best seats, lowest price guaranteed. I use it any single time I'm going. Some of that requires buying a ticket. You guys will too. Download Game Time today. Code VikingsChat for $20 off. All right, let's stick in the trenches here and on the defensive side of football. Leonard Williams, former New York Giant, was traded to the Seahawks in the middle of the year. And again, this is a guy I fully expect the Seahawks to bring him back, but maybe they dispute on money and he hits the open market. This is another name to keep your eyes out on. He's got unreal talent. You guys have probably heard it, Leonard Williams. He is truly, truly one of the more talented defensive linemen we have in the NFL. And if, again, the Vikings, you just need more talent on that D-line. You need more talent on that defense. This guy checks both those boxes. Great at getting pressure from the interior. Again, all these guys I like at the defensive tackle position. The Vikings already kind of have that true run stuffer in Harrison Phillips. I want to see another guy to be able to kind of be more of a pass rusher from the inside. That's what Leonard Williams is, as he had a great, great year for the Giants and for Seattle. Now let's kick at the offense here for the last two. Two offensive guards, actually, because, I do think there is still a need for the offensive guard position, just overall interior of the offensive line. Robert Hunt and Kevin Dotson here are the two. Both had great years for the respective teams. Hunt with the Dolphins and Dotson with the Rams. Listen, both those guys, they are Pro Bowl level guards, and the Vikings have not had that in a very, very long time. And listen, I like what, Dalton Risner did this past season. You're coming in as a free agent, but, he is, again, a free agent. I don't know if the Vikings are going to bring him back, but I think, both those guys would be an upgrade. Then also Ed Ingram, he is the definition of an up-and-down football player. So, I just don't know if, it really depends where the Vikings are going to, spend their money this offseason. So I just want to give you guys 10 names to kind of keep your eyes out on with this upcoming free agency period. But make sure you guys are subscribed to the channel. No matter what it may be around your Minnesota Vikings, we'll have you guys covered. Help us reach 23,000 subs here on the channel. Thank you guys so much. That was 10 free agents that the Vikings should sign this offseason. Just want to get you guys a video out. But we'll see you guys next time. As always, thank you guys so much for watching. Skol Vikes. Dude, I'm getting all this updates around the Bulls trade deadline right now. I keep just all these reports keep fucking coming out about them. But yeah, this is the deal of the day. $10 super chat. You go on our Hall of Fame board and you get a raffle ticket if you guys want to support the show. But also, we are going to have a mailbag coming up here in a little bit. # Vikings or super chat to get on the show. We're really going through these segments fast here today. Taking PTO next week, so want to still have you guys videos covered off when I'm gone. But we're going to be now diving into the ESPN mock draft from my man Matt Miller and breaking it down. If Trace, you are ready. Yeah. Coming up on today's show, we're going to be breaking down the latest mock draft from ESPN. It was a 2-round mock draft. So we're going to be diving into who they had the Vikings selecting at number 11 and number 42nd overall. My name is Patrick Siepman, and welcome into today's show. Vikings, they could go any which direction, I feel like, at 11. So stay tuned to see who ESPN had them drafting. But if you guys want the Vikings to draft a quarterback, and this is kind of the camp I've been starting to fall into. Early on in the offseason, I was like, you know what, Vikings, bring back Kirk. If a quarterback you want is there at 11, you can take him, but it's not that big of a deal. Now I'm kind of in the camp, we need to draft a quarterback. So if you guys agree with me, just drop a like on today's video. Let's see if we can get it 300 likes. Would really appreciate it if you guys could show some support. Hit that thumbs up icon. And let's see who Matt Miller had the Vikings drafting at 11. It was Dallas Turner, the edge out of Alabama. And you see him right there, man. This dude's a stud. He is an athletic freak. And I'm a big, big fan of Dallas Turner. I think the Vikings, I think they have 3 choices at 11. I think it's either quarterback, edge, or cornerback. That's it. I don't think, obviously this class is great with offensive tackles, and it's great with wide receivers. Vikings, wide receiver, don't need it. Offensive tackle, don't need it. You start falling to these edge rushers, and Dallas Turner was the pick for Matt Miller. This is what he had to say. He said, the Vikings are at a crossroads with quarterback Kirk Cousins hitting free agency at 36 years old and coming off an Achilles tear suffered in Week 8. Could they pull the trigger on Michigan's J.J. McCarthy, Oregon's Bo Nix, or Washington's Michael Penix Jr.? Yes, but they are needs across the board. Danielle Hunter is a free agent, and Turner would perfectly fit defensive coordinator Brian Flores' defensive wish list at edge rusher. Turner had 10 sacks in his breakout 2023 season, and one NFC area scout thinks his ceiling is higher than his former college teammate, Will Anderson, who went number 3 in last year's draft. Turner has excellent speed in space with a Pro Bowl player comparison to Jaguars' Josh Allen. He's my top-ranked defender in the class and would be a steal this late in the night. And I agree with him, and I'll get more thoughts on Dallas Turner here in a second. But quickly, I do want to tell you guys about Prize Picks. If you guys do head to prizepicks.com/CLNS and use that promo code CLNS, you guys will get a first deposit match all the way up to $100. Prize Picks is daily fantasy sports made easy. All you got to do, pick 2 or more players, choose more or less on some projected stat types, and you guys can start seeing the cash roll in today. Any boring game, whether it's the NBA, college basketball, whatever it may be, Prize Picks adds a little more juice to it. So get hooked up today, prizepicks.com/CLNS, and use that promo code CLNS for first deposit match all the way up to $100. Get hooked up today. Link for that in the comments and description of today's show. All right, let's break down Dallas Turner as a player. I thought the coolest part about that quote from Matt Miller was that he said that he might have more defensive upside than his counterpart last season, Will Anderson, which is cool because I am all down with the Vikings, with the tutelage they have already instilled with Brian Flores, with them taking a risk on a more boom or bust guy in this year's class, because I would trust in Brian Flores way more than obviously Ed Donatel to get the most out of this guy. And, this guy's an athletic freak. And, anytime I turned on Bama this season, I was always had my eyes peeled out for Dallas Turner. Also think he's got a great name for an edge rusher. Can't you just imagine that Turner 15 for the Vikings coming off the edge? I think it would make a lot of sense. And it also gets me this, man. The Vikings, they just need more talent on the defensive side of the football. I think the Vikings, you could have made the argument last season, they had the least amount of talent on defense in the entire National Football League, especially outside of Danielle Hunter. The secondary was terrible. I love what Ivan Pace did, but besides him at linebacker, you really had not much to work with. And the fact that your best linebacker and a top 3 defender on your team, and this is no disrespect to Ivan Pace, he's one of my favorite players on the Vikings, but the fact that he was a UDFA rookie and he was a top 3 defensive player, I don't know. Just overall, the Vikings need more talent, and drafting a guy like Dallas Turner would definitely answer a big-time need, especially if they do lose, Hunter in free agency. But hey, if it's not quarterback, I think the Vikings got 2 choices. I think it's cornerback or edge rusher. What position should the Vikings draft out of those 2? Let me know your thoughts down below. CB for cornerback, or give me edge for edge rusher. Let me know your guys' thoughts down below. But at pick number 42, Vikings got a quarterback, and it's Michael Penix Jr., the quarterback out of Washington. As he's a controversial quarterback. I think he's tough to evaluate. Kind of getting that here more in a second. But Michael Penix, man, I'll tell you what, that college football semifinal versus Texas, he absolutely lit it up, and he was fantastic. And I think that's a big reason why he'll probably go top 50 in this year's draft class. But this is what Matt Miller had to say on the Vikings drafting Michael Penix. He says Penix's draft stock varies depending on whom you ask, but the most consistent answer I've heard is the second round. Given the 4 season-ending injuries he suffered at Indiana, 2 knee surgeries, 2 shoulder injuries, Penix has excellent arm strength and velocity and is a pure passer. He's a first-rounder. He threw for nearly 5,000 yards in 2023 and helped lead Washington to the national title game, but those injury and durability questions push him to the Vikings. It's great news for Minnesota, where Kirk Cousins is set to become a 35-year-old free agent coming off an Achilles injury. Penix can be the quarterback in waiting if Cousins is re-signed or the immediate starter if not. And listen, I actually do agree with what Matt Miller said right there. I think Penix is a guy, just because of how, his age and, how much experience he does really have playing football, he could be an immediate starter on this football team. And listen, the stats from this past year are ridiculous. 65.4% completion percentage, almost 5,000 yards, 36 touchdowns, 11 interceptions. He's got a big-time arm. And I'll tell you what, after that game versus Texas, watching him, I was like, oh my God, I'd take him at number 11, no doubt. And I was kind of living, prisoner of the moment. But then he had the game against Michigan where, he went up against a no disrespect to Texas, but he ran up against a real, true high caliber defense, and he struggled. And that's why he's tough to evaluate because, like, he's got all the talent in the world. There's no doubt about it. But he's had 4 season-ending injuries, and, he is 2.5 years older than a guy like J.J. McCarthy. And, if your argument, for Penix over McCarthy is like, oh, McCarthy doesn't have the, the same arm talent that Penix does. He's just not, as developed as a quarterback. Like, could you imagine J.J. McCarthy playing in college 2.5 years from now? How good he would be. Like, the dude went 20 or 30-1 as a starter. Like, that's why if I had to choose one, Penix or McCarthy, I frankly don't really think it's that close between the two. But he's got unreal talent. Kind of tough to evaluate. But, again, I would take him at 42nd overall, no doubt. Vikings need to start this over. And I even think a guy like Penix would be a great option. But I'll ask you guys. This is a tough question to answer right now. Who will be QB1 for the Vikings next season? Let me know down below. If I still had to call it right now, still probably going Kirk Cousins, but maybe it's a guy like JJ. But let me know your thoughts down below. Who will be QB1 for the Vikes next season? And as always, guys, thank you guys so much for watching today's show. Again, going to ask you guys to hit that subscribe button, lock us in as your go-to YouTube channel. Just thank you guys so much for tuning in. Ton of fun doing these, and really, really do appreciate it. So shout out to all you guys for watching today's show. But, hit that sub button if you haven't already. Skol Vikes. All right, let me know who will be QB1 down in the chat. Is Ty Man is saying, sorry, Harvey. You're all good, Ty Man. You're all good. Don't worry about it. Scolger saying, would love Penix at 42. I'm with you. Oh, Scolger. Oh, hey, Scolger, shout out to you. Thank you so much for the $10 super chat. Our software's been having some problems lately, so it's not able to pull it. But I see you. You get a raffle ticket, and I'll sign your name on the board. So shout out to – no, it's all good. Don't worry about it. Shout out to you, Scolger. I appreciate it. Showed love all the time in the season. Love DMing with you on Twitter. So, appreciate you tuning in. But, guys, we are going to have a mailbag coming up here in probably 15 minutes. So, hashtag Vikings if you guys want to get involved here on the show, or you guys can super chat. We are going to have a mailbag, so stay tuned for that as we're just chugging along here on our little 5-segment live. So get the hashtag Vikings in there. That's not taking questions? That's just great. 5 questions? Honestly, that's fine. 2, so that should work. That should work. Yeah, but who cares? Yeah. Who cares? Well, mailbag coming up. If you guys want to ask a question, hashtag Vikings. But we're gonna dive into some trade candidates or trade targets for the Vikes right now, and the first name on this list is a certain member of the Chicago Bears that you guys want to stay tuned for. All right. Let's do it. Yeah. Do it. Coming up on today's edition of Vikings Now by Chat Sports, the top players the Minnesota Vikings can trade for this offseason. My name is Patrick Siepman. Welcome into today's show. This is a fun one. This is 5 blockbuster names that would definitely improve this roster immediately. So make sure you guys stay tuned for all 5. Going to be a fun video today, so buckle up. But if you guys want the Vikings to make a splash move, this offseason, just like today's video, get the good mojo going, get the good vibes going, and maybe Kwesi Adofo-Mensah for some reason sitting on his phone and he's watching us and he sees this and he's like, oh wow, we got 1,000 likes. These fans want to splash this offseason. Hold my beer, watch this. So hit that like button, lock us in, and show some support here on the channel. But the number one Vikings trade target we're talking about today is the quarterback from the Chicago Bears, Justin Fields. And listen, this is an interesting one because I think it's becoming more and more clear that the Bears are going to draft Caleb Williams. I think they're going to take him at number 1. I don't think they're trading that pick unless they get an absolute haul. Like I'm talking 3 to 4 first-round picks. But I do think Justin Fields will be on the trading block, and maybe it could make sense, for the Vikings to go out and get him because, there is uncertainty around Kirk Cousins, if he's coming back and if he will be the quarterback, and maybe you don't love any of the other options besides Drake May and Caleb Williams in this year's draft class, a guy like Justin Fields would be, I'd be willing to roll the die on him. I don't really necessarily believe in him, too much as an NFL quarterback, but he's a young, exciting player. He's an ultimate highlight reel anytime he's on the football field. The only thing is with him, you're going to have to pay him a good amount of money, probably again, that $30 to $35 million a year. It's just what quarterbacks go for. And, with what we've seen from like Lamar Jackson and Jalen Hurts, like, those types of quarterback, those dual threat guys, they can get so close. And if they're at their peak, they can get so close to a Super Bowl, but still haven't really seen any of the guys won. Even like a guy like Cam Newton, like they always kind of get beat out at the end. So I would be kind of wary on trading for Fields. I'd probably be out on him, but it's definitely a conversation that the Vikings would have. And also, I don't even know if the Bears would want to send him in the division, just have him play Chicago twice a year. But I did want to talk about him. Probably one of the names that would get thrown out there, a lot for the Vikings. But another one, Jonathan Allen, the defensive end for the Washington Commanders. The Commanders got a whole new regime in there right now, and they could be looking to move off a lot of these defensive guys. They were talking about trading Allen at the trade deadline this year, so maybe they could trade him, this offseason. But he's an absolute dog. If you guys have watched the Commanders play, this is a guy that just, he kind of has been the cornerstone of that franchise for a while, and, he actually came out earlier this year and said, like, he's sick of losing in Washington. He kind of wants to get out of there. So, maybe the Vikings, you want to take a swing on a guy, offer him a third, second-round pick. This would be a great option. 5.5 sacks this past season, 53 tackles. He's an absolute stud. Like, he is a stud, and he would be a great addition to this D-line. Vikings need to get better in the trenches, and they just need to get tougher up front. This guy answers both of those questions. So, Jonathan Allen, keep your names on. I'll be jumping for joy if the Vikings would trade from. Jair Alexander, let's talk about it. So, there were some trade rumors around Jair earlier this offseason as he kind of posted something cryptic on his Instagram and Twitter talking about, him finally playing his final days in Green Bay. He was suspended that one game during the year when he went out for the captain's meeting when he wasn't supposed to. So maybe his tenure in Green Bay could be coming to an end. But there's no doubt that he is one of the best cornerbacks in the league. Dealt with injuries this past season and in 2021. But, man, when he plays, he's fantastic. I mean, he's got the best of Jefferson. One of the, 7 times he's played against him. Got the best of him one time. But, he's a hell of a cornerback, man. And he would be a true cornerback one. And, you guys have heard me say it over and over again, like, Vikings do need a true cornerback one. They need more talent in that secondary group, overall, but they definitely need a true lockdown corner. And a guy like Jair Alexander is 100% that. Listen, I like Byron Murphy, more of a 2. Same thing with Mekhi Blackman. He's more of a 3 and a 2. Jair Alexander, though, he is the definition of a 1. He's a guy you can just put on a side of the football field and say, you lock it down. He is that guy. So, listen, I would trade for him, but I give you guys 3 names so far. Give me one. Name a player the Vikings need to trade for this offseason. Let me know your thoughts down below. Get active down in the comment section. But first, I do want to give a big-time shout-out to Game Time, today's sponsor of today's edition of Vikings Now. If you guys had the game, or if you guys download Game Time and use the code VikingsChat, VIKINGSCHAT, you guys will get $20 off your first purchase. Whether you guys want to see Luke Bryan in Minneapolis, or if you guys want to go check out any Timberwolves games, Wild games, Minnesota, women's or men's basketball games, no matter what it is, get hooked up with Game Time today. Promo code VikingsChat, VIKINGSCHAT. Use that promo code. You'll get $20 off your first purchase. Get it hooked up today. I use Game Time all the time. It's super easy and convenient. Trust me, you guys will think the same. Link for that in the comments and description of today's show. Number 4 on my list, and Trace probably won't like this one, but Marshawn Lattimore. The Saints are in cap hell this offseason, so maybe they could be looking to move off a guy like Lattimore. And, hey, I'll tell you what. You said what? So the Saints did restructure his contract to make him more tradable, so maybe the Saints are definitely, looking at options for that. And listen, guys, there's no doubt, like Lattimore, in terms of us talking about the Vikings needing to get a true cornerback one, this is that. Like, Marshawn Lattimore is no doubt that guy. I'm a big fan of him. Even him and Jefferson, going back and forth back in London a couple years ago, like that was a ton of fun. But I mean, he's an absolute dog, man. And listen, he plays with a sort of like swagger at the cornerback position that I always like. I love seeing the clips of him and Mike Evans, going back and forth. And, I think that's the type of intensity and, kind of mantra the Vikings need in that secondary. Is like they need a guy that kind of has that edge. And Lattimore is the definition of that. Like a true press corner who can literally shut down a side of the football field. He is that guy. So if the Vikings want to make a move for a secondary player, I'm taking Lattimore over Jair Alexander any day of the week. I've been a big fan of him. I hate, giving all this love to a Saints player, but I'd love to see Lattimore in the purple and gold. I promise you it would work out a whole lot better than Marcus Davenport. No doubt about that. But keep your eyes on Lattimore. He might be doubt. But another guy that could be doubt, and I don't know if it makes too much sense for the Vikings, but it's Mike Williams, wide receiver for the LA Chargers. And I'll tell you what, he only played in 3 games this past season, but in one of those games, he played for half against the Minnesota Vikings. He absolutely dominated. He was cooking Byron Murphy, and then obviously Keenan Allen came on and cooked him. But, I mean, the dude's a dog, big body receiver out of Clemson, and, he's fast, he's big, he's got a great catch radius, he's great at the, point of catch too, really strong hands, and, he's been great. And plus with this point, Osborne, KJ is most likely gone this offseason. I don't think the Vikings are going to be able to match his asking price. I think actually the Patriots are a dark horse to land him, so he's most likely gone. So maybe Mike Williams, if you want to go trade for a true wide receiver 3, yeah, go for it, but I wouldn't trade for a wide receiver. I think wide receiver is a position in the NFL. You can just take one in the 5th and 6th round, especially where the Vikings are. Like you have Jefferson, you have Addison. You just need maybe a slot guy or a third option. You could go find that in the 5th or 6th. And, obviously you'd have to pay Mike Williams as well. So I'd probably be out on trading for Mike Williams. I just saw the draft guy in the 5th or 6th round. So I would not trade for him, but definitely a name to, keep your eyes out on. But speaking about trades, front office, do you trust the Vikings front office? Scale it for me, 1 through 10, down in the comment section. I'm probably sitting at like a 5 right now. They've been all right in their 2-year tenure here. But let me know, do you trust the front office? Scale it 1 through 10. As always, guys, can't talk right now. Thank you guys so much for watching today's show. That was 5 blockbuster trade targets for the Minnesota Vikings. Make sure you guys hit that subscribe button. Lock us in as your go-to Vikings YouTube channel. See you guys next time. Skol Vikes. All right, let me know. Do you trust the Vikings front office? Scale it for me, 1 through 10. Vikings fan number 1, what up? Hi, Pat. How you doing? Roger, giving it a 4. I'm probably sitting at a 4 or 5 as well. That 2022 draft class was terrible. Actually, Paul Allen, voice of the Minnesota Vikings, said that put the Vikings back years. Is how bad that draft class was, which was pretty telling. It was 2022. It was like that's when they took Lewis Seen in the first round, which he's played 20 snaps for the Vikings in 2 years. Paul Allen actually ripped on them for that, which is something that Paul Allen never normally does, is rip the Vikings. I mean, he was cooking them for that 2022 draft class, which is, in my opinion, I like to see it. But go for it. That's what I love to hear, man. That's what I love to hear. These all around like 8 to 10, you think? Yeah, good. Good. Yeah, no, whatever you need to do. Yeah, 4. We'll get out of here by 3. Yeah. Vikings fan number 1 saying 8 will improve a lot. Yeah, I hope so, Harvey. I hope so. But thank you guys so much. Sorry we're as Pat, how about that wrench? Purple Papa, I want to give a wrench to everybody, but not everybody can have a wrench. You know what I mean? There's only 2 guys. That's Ty Man, because Ty Man's the best wrench at Chat Sports, and Roger Bong, because he's a real one, and I trust him. He gets a wrench as well. You got to earn my trust, Purple Papa. I'm just not throwing out wrenches to everybody. Let me know. That's freaking funny. But we're going to hop into a mailbag here, close out today's show. Sorry, we're just kind of flying through it today on our live show, but thank you guys so much for everybody who's tuned in. But Trace, if you're ready, Minnesota Vikings, a mailbag coming your way. Yo, what's going on, guys? Welcome in the Vikings Now by Chat Sports. My name is Patrick Siepman. On today's show, Some of my favorite stuff here we do at Chat Sports is our mailbags on our weekly live shows where I take questions directly from you guys. It's a ton of fun, so make sure you guys are subscribed so you guys can get involved in on the fun. Let's kick it to Bulls Nation as he starts off today's show as he says, should Minnesota look into signing running back Austin Ekeler? No, I'm probably out on trading for Ekeler. Listen, Ekeler he was a great running back for a couple of years, but he definitely fell off the map this past season. There's no doubt about it. Like I remember seeing clips on Twitter of Ekeler where it's like it looks like he's running in cement. And listen, so I'd probably be out on trading for Ekeler. Or signing Ekeler. I just don't think he's got that much left in the tank. And plus, with where the Vikings kind of running back position kind of shakes out right now, I'm probably, I'm good on Ekeler. Good running back, great fantasy running back still, but I'd rather have the Vikings, go draft a guy or sign, maybe a guy like, Saquon or something like that in free agency. But probably out on signing Austin Ekeler. But Skull Nations next up here says, any chance the Vikings trade for A.J. Brown? I love A.J. Brown. A.J. Brown's a hell of a football player. Probably not going to be able to get him. I will say that. Like, A.J. Brown, like, if you could imagine a wide receiver room of Justin Jefferson, Jordan Addison, and A.J. Brown, that would be the greatest wide receiver room of all time, not just because of the talent, which I think is no doubt, obviously there between the three, but they are all three different archetypes of wide receivers, where Jefferson is just a prototypical, I can do it all. A.J. Brown is more of that big body, I'll go up and catch a 50-50 ball on your head type of receiver. And then Jordan Addison is that guy in the slot where he's going to make a man miss, and really be really good in those, short areas on the football field. So what are the chances if I can trade for A.J. Brown? I'm going to go 0.00001% chance. But, man, could you imagine A.J. Brown in Minnesota? That would be pretty freaking cool. But I don't know if I would consider A.J. Brown a move the Vikings need to make. But it would be a ton of fun to see that go through. And I think the Vikings would obviously get better. But let me know, what is one move the Vikings need to make this offseason? Let me know your thoughts down below in the comments section. Bulls and Nation saying, should the Minnesota Vikings hire Brandon Staley, maybe to be a running backs coach because their run game wasn't that good last season? I'm probably out on Brandon Staley being the running back coach. He does have that connection to Kevin O'Connell, and I'll tell you what, Bulls Nation, I was extremely nervous about if Brian Flores were to have left this offseason, the Vikings bringing in Brandon Staley as their DC. I was super nervous that was going to go down. Obviously didn't go down. But the second part of this, I do agree Vikings did have a better running game this year. They're 27th in 2022, and they were 29th, I believe, this past season. So under Kevin O'Connell, they haven't been able to run the ball. So I don't know if Brandon Staley's the answer to that question. I think it's, drafting a guy and probably scheme is a better way to fix that. But thanks for the question, Bulls Nation. I appreciate it. As Harvey Buxton, $5 super chat. Shout out to Trace George for building this on the fly. But he said, #Vikings. What would it take for you to trade JJ? All right, what would it actually take for me to trade him? So let me think about this. I think it starts with 2 first-round picks. I think that is bare minimum. 2 first-round picks. I probably want a second, and then I would probably want a young player, whether it's a receiver or a DB, but probably 2 first, a second, and a player, because also, guys, if you trade him right now, you wouldn't need to pay him, but I mean, we talked about the Cowherd trade idea earlier on the channel here. So, again, I'm not trading Jefferson, but, it would start at 2 first, 2 seconds, and probably a player for me. But, that's what I would do. But let me know, would you ever trade Justin Jefferson? Ever. Kansas City Chiefs call you. 3 first-round picks. Are you doing it? T for trade, P for pass. Let me know your thoughts down below in the comments section. Roger Bong coming in now saying, what do you think of Zach Moss? Zach Moss had a big-time year this past season. He looked good filling in for Jonathan Taylor. I like him. I don't know. I feel like if the Vikings are bringing in a running back, it's got to be more of a top-end guy because, a guy like Zach Moss, he's just kind of in that same camp as Ty Chandler, Cam Akers, these guys who are really good 2s, that could be good 1s, but I don't know, man. I'm probably out on Zach Moss. Roger, good football player, but I just feel like it's one of those things like, oh, we already have Zach Moss at home and a guy like Cam Akers. But good question. Good free agent to keep your eyes out on. We'll get to more questions here in a little bit from our subscribers, but I do want to tell you guys about Game Time. Shout out Game Time. It's the best seats, lowest price guaranteed, and the prices drop as the events get closer. Shout out Game Time. Use that code Vikings Chat for $20 off your first purchase. I'll put that link for you guys in the comment section and the description of today's show. VIKINGSCHAT. Use that code Vikings Chat for $20 off your first purchase. Get hooked up today. It's the lowest price, or it's the best seats, lowest price, guaranteed. Coming in from the greatest ever, saying, would you rather sign Saquon Barkley or Derrick Henry? Ooh, out of those two, for the Vikings, okay, if the Vikings had a blank running back room, like no running backs on the roster at all, I'd go Saquon. But with where the Vikings kind of shake up the running back room, I'm probably going Derrick Henry because I actually think Derrick Henry, Ty Chandler more of that lightning and Derrick Henry more of that thunder. I think they would complement each other very, very well. And plus, you don't really need Derrick Henry for goal line and first and second down. I think he would, drop his carries a ton. But if I needed a running back to be like a 3-down workhorse still, I'm still probably going Saquon. But as of those two for the Vikings, I'm probably leaning King Henry because the Vikings, they really had a tough time this past season putting the ball in the end zone on the ground. And, there might not be a better running back in NFL history than Derrick Henry than finding the end zone. But I'll ask you guys, pick an RB for me. 26 for Saquon or 22 for King Henry. Let me know down in the comment section. Pick a running back. Who would you rather have on the Vikes, Saquon or Derrick Henry? Joey coming in with the next question. If we bring back Danielle Hunter, who do we draft in the first? Who do we draft in the first? If Hunter's back, so you're saying like we're not gonna take an edge. I'd probably go, if we're not going cornerback or quarterback, like a JJ or some reason Daniels or Mayfall. I'll go Kool-Aid McKinstry or maybe a guy like Nate Wiggins. I think those are the two guys I would take. Probably go secondary. I think I can almost guarantee this, guys. The Vikings are either taking a quarterback, a cornerback, or an edge rusher at 11. There's really no other choices, I think, out there. With the combination with the Vikings roster and the way the boards, fall in a lot of mock drafts, I really think those are only 3 positions the Vikings will take. But, Joey, good question. Bulls Nation saying, should Minnesota call Carson Wentz for a veteran presence if they draft a rookie? He can help mentor the rookie. He did the same thing to Jalen Hurts in Philadelphia. Great point, Bulls Nation. I actually made this point on a video a couple days ago where I was saying even if the Vikings don't bring back Kirk, I would still want them to go sign a veteran, whether it's like, funny enough, like Jameis Winston as a veteran or like a guy like Carson Wentz, Tyrod Taylor, Jacoby Brissett, one of those guys just to kind of, maybe they don't even start, but just to kind of be that mentor and a veteran in your ear, I think is extremely valuable for a young quarterback. And plus, guys, look at what the Packers did. They rested Jordan Love for a couple of years. He ended up developing perfectly, and he looks like a top 10 quarterback in the league. So I think definitely if the Vikings move off Kirk and they draft somebody at 11, you got to bring in a veteran, and it's not Nick Mullins. That's the only kind of tidbit I will say on that. But thank you. Yeah, not Josh Dobbs either, Trace. No. No more Josh Dobbs or Nick Mullins or Jaron Hall for me for the next couple of seasons. But thank you guys so much for watching today's mailbag. Really do appreciate it. Hit that subscribe button. See you guys next time. Skol Vikes, baby. Alrighty. Thank you guys so much for watching today's live show. We were flying through that. Appreciate it. What'd you say? Under an hour, man. Love it. It's called being efficient. I'm absolutely out of breath, but really do appreciate you guys tuning in to today's live show. C-Story Future, Harvey Buxton, Rocky, Vikings fan number 1, Purple Papa. What up, baby? How you doing? You guys are going back and forth in the chat. I love to see that. But, yeah, shout out to all the veterans out there. Shout out to you, Roger. Yeah, you're great, man. It's Harvey, another great live. Yeah, thank you so much, Harvey. Again, sorry I had to kind of fly through this very quickly here. But, Harvey, your Kirk Cousins jersey should be heading your way here shortly. Ty Man the Buckeye, thanks for holding it down. Rocky, appreciate it. Thank you so much. We'll see you guys soon. But thank you guys so much for watching. Skol Vikes, baby.